Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland. This is our Halloween special edition. This is your favorite show about the paranormal. I'm your host, Chauncey Allworth, and this is my co-host, Kara.
Hello.
How are you doing, Kara?
Good.
I don't care.
No.
I quit smoking yesterday.
I think I know why.
Yeah.
Oh, did you quit smoking?
I quit smoking yesterday. I'm feeling better now that I'm using Jared as a punching bag. You know, that makes me feel good.
It doesn't make me feel good.
Well, you know, you can just go have a cigarette and get over it real quick, can't you? I can't.
All right, fine. You guys can run the soundboard. I'm leaving.
I'm sorry, Jared. I'll make it up to you. I'll give you a back rub.
Don't abuse our engineer.
All right.
Actually, you're the host. I think you're allowed to do that. I think you're actually obligated to do that.
So last Halloween, we had no guest.
Right.
By design. And this Halloween, we do have a guest, but by design, it's going to be a little bit looser from our normal topic. We're going to talk about some movies that are supposedly, air quotes, Chance, based on true events.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I had to do homework for this show. I didn't like it.
Yeah. You didn't like watching the movies?
I mean, they were okay. I'm not gonna, you know.
You don't want to jump the...
Yeah, I'm not gonna get to all the suspenseful stuff. Yeah, we have to build it up. We have to introduce this stuff.
All right. So first off, we have our guest, close friend of mine, movie aficionado, Tyler Zdenek.
You got it right, Chauncey.
Close friend. I don't know his last name, but very close.
All right. Tyler, do us a favor and spell your last name.
Zdenek.
Okay, that's understandable.
All right. So I get a break on that one, right?
It's a real doozy. It's a real good way to cut out telemarketers.
That's true. Yeah. As soon as they can't pronounce it, you know that
they probably just say, "Is this Tyler?" And then they just hang up.
Is this Tyler?
I'm guessing they start in on your last name and just hang up.
Right. It'd be confusing if your middle name was you still wouldn't know.
Is this Tyler?
I don't want to be mean here, but if I was a telemarketer, I'd be like, no, they made that up.
Yeah, totally.
Well, they probably have it on a list. That's how.
See, luckily, all the telemarketers are robots now, so they don't have opinions on these matters.
No,
they'll call me no matter what.
That's true. The funny thing is, my last name is Hallworth, and it's pretty, phonetically spelt. And my first name is, a little more squirrely and difficult for things to pronounce. So I'll get these robocalls.
The E is annoying.
Yeah, I'll get these robocalls that are just all, this is a message for Chauncey Artwork. And like, they don't get my last name, but they nail my first one perfectly.
Well, I don't know. Chauncey's a name.
I guess it is a name. So's Hallworth. It's a town. It's a place.
Yeah, but, you instantly jump to Hayworth. That's like...
I don't see why, though. It's not spelt that way.
No, but... I don't know. When I read your last name, I just skip the Y altogether. We're going to talk about horror movies in a second. But first, last names.
All right. So here's my final telemarketing story. My friend Ben owns Bog Bean Books and Music. When people used to call, his favorite thing to do would be when they called up and said, "Hi, is Ben Bambauer there?" He'd say, "Hang on a second, let me go get him." And he'd set the phone down and then just go about his business as they sat there for hours.
Yeah, they didn't sit there for hours.
Well,
they hung up after a minute. There was probably a nice break for them.
All right, Tyler. So the first movie that we're going to talk about here is Winchester. We set out to find some movies that are based on true events.
Based on true events.
And, of course, there have been lots of horror movies throughout the years, that are based on true events.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried to find some current ones.
Yes.
And so... we're all ready to say it, but I'll let Tyler say it first. What'd you think of Winchester?
It was a real disappointment. I mean, the one favorable thing I could say is that, I feel like since Helen Mirren was probably around for the creation of horror movie tropes, the fact that she's now in a film that uses every single one of them is
sort of a showcase.
That's a little ageist. That's a little ageist.
It was not good.
Yeah, no.
It wasn't great. No.
It wasn't.
I honestly thought you were going to stop at creation.
Yeah.
Which is really unfair for Helen Mirren.
Right. Since she is old as dirt. I thought that basically my joke that I told to myself as soon as it started was that damn Helen Mirren. Because, it is just how does she get connected with
You think
this?
it's a seal of quality that she's in it. You think you're safe when you see her in the credits.
You do.
And then,
yeah.
Yeah, and
it's a cruel trick.
And another cruel trick of these movies is that on a directing level, like on a visual level, they are so there's such a formula to them. There's all these great filters that people are using that they all cinematically look pretty good. So the movie itself was looked pretty good. It was all kind of dark and well lit and kind of cool and kind of had that sort of when they're showing the city shots, it kind of had that cool sort of fake Spielberg city shot kind of look. So it but so many movies have this that you can no longer rely on that when it comes to movies because it's automatic.
No, you can do that with a $1 million budget, or in the case of Winchester, maybe a couple $1,000 budget. I don't know how much money went to Helen Mirren and how much money went to the making of the film.
Yeah, it makes you ask yourself, is Helen Mirren crazy, or does she need to fire her agent?
Is that the real psychodrama at play here? We're watching Helen Mirren unravel, and Winchester's just the beginning?
Right.
Well, so you're proposing that this movie was a cry for help?
Well, it might have been.
I mean,
well, here's my
dispute that.
Here's my movie factoid about Apocalypse Now. That scene where Martin Sheen is all drunk and going off about his dad is really him all drunk going off about his dad, and he videotaped it. I mean, they filmed it and they used it in the movie, but that's not actually. Yeah, it was pre-videotaped, 70s. But they actually filmed him freaking out about his dad.
When you go into a movie theater and they pop the cassette in and the grainy footage appears on the screen.
I wish, man, you'd see better movies. It really was. I don't know, kind of a. And plus the guy who starred in it, he was good too. I forget his name now. But he played,
I don't think I actually knew any of the actors other than him.
He played John Connor in Terminator
that's where he was
Genesis.
from. I couldn't peg it.
Never watched it.
Yeah. And I liked him. I think that he has a very sort of period piece look. He sort of nails it really well. He definitely pulled off, being a druggie. What did she refer to it?
I think we should.
An abuser of substances. I think
that was. Yeah.
That was trope number
abuser
one.
Of medicine? I don't remember.
Yeah, we need a bell to ding for each of the tropes.
Trope number one.
That is a movie that is crying out for a drinking game.
All right.
Just have to say.
Tyler,
go on.
Say it again. Trope number one.
Trope number one.
All right.
There we go.
We have a bell.
Best production values ever.
You might as well just jingle.
Right here on Radio Wasteland.
Totally. You might as well just jingle that one like a reindeer, man.
So, guys,
there's a lot.
Why was this movie so bad? Speaking as horror movie veterans, whereas I am a horror movie amateur.
For starts, I feel like the ghosts weren't even on the scary end of ghostly.
No.
Right.
What was our first ghost? He was just a gray guy with funny colored eyes?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that's where the budget went. Those milky white, contacts. Those don't cost $1.
All right, we're gonna rip this puppy apart after this commercial break. Come on back, and we'll tell you exactly why Winchester sucked. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and we're talking about horror movies that are based on real-life events. Totally true, 100% true horror films like Winchester, who we've already just kind of tore into pretty bad. We have our...
We're not done yet, though. It's wounded. You've got to finish it off.
Right.
It's crawling away. It's, it's stumbling down the stairs.
So Kara and I are sitting here talking to Tyler, and we are talking about how much this movie sucked. During the commercial break, Tyler... said that it made him feel like he was watching a prequel to The Conjuring, and that's kind of what I was saying, that everything is so formulaic and there's so many filters and stuff. It really did have that look, like they said, oh, we want to rip this cinematographer off.
But not the same charm. Not the same charm.
Sean. No, because that's ultimately where the beginning of the failing of this film is, and that is that the writing is just very contrived.
Yeah.
It is.
There was nothing exciting. And one note that I had made to myself was that if it had been the same movie, but not about the Winchester Mystery House, something that has such a stigma and so much going on to it, if it had just been that movie without all that, it probably would have been a little bit better in my mind. but seeing how it was connected to something where I have an expectation, it really failed.
Well, that and it takes place in all of 4 rooms, so
yeah, that's right.
considering the house is character unto itself, it's a 4-room character. It's very small compared to, I think, the original Winchester property.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point, the house being a character unto itself. That's really kind of the definition of Gothic and Gothic horror and Gothic romance, is that the setting itself is one of the characters. And really, they definitely fail there.
I think a lot of us probably just watched The Haunting of Hill House. So it's interesting to compare and contrast, because they did very successfully what this movie is clearly trying to do, or maybe what it should have been trying to do and just didn't.
They gave the house personality.
Exactly.
I haven't seen that yet. Is there a ghost in it that's capable of telepathically lifting 24 guns at one time? No. Is that part of Haunting of Hill House?
I think that was just Magneto crouching behind the bookcases.
Yeah, that was totally the Magneto scene.
It just, the last half of the movie, for our listeners, spoilers, it just turns into the X-Men, so...
Right. And
that's what it is.
You're making it sound far too exciting.
Okay, so to stick with the premise of
that was
of
the
our
cheesy
show,
scene, is what I'm saying.
The reality of Sarah Winchester is that she lived somewhere on the East Coast. She had the fortune. Her husband died. She was a nut job. She came out here. She built this house. And she continued to build the house. And that's really what we know.
Right.
She did the seances and she did the stuff, but... her being architecturally driven by the design, we don't know. Actually, her friends say that she was actually pretty stable of mind. And most of the ghost stories that have to do with Winchester actually have happened well after Sarah Winchester.
Right.
And so on a reality level, based on a true story, it was not. And the shooting in the Winchester factory never happened. That wasn't real. These ghosts weren't real. The characters weren't real. None of it was real.
Weren't even real, Chauncey?
No.
Kind of a based on a true story movie is this?
I don't know.
It's based on a true story in the sense that Fargo is based on a true story.
Yeah, or the Blair Witch.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm back on board.
The Blair Witch at least had really good marketing around it.
Yeah.
So did Fargo. Yeah. But, so none of...
Fargo was a good movie.
Yeah. So I was really sort of disappointed to read that none of this was real. It was basically, to call it based on a true story is really just a brutal, brutal fake news. That's some fake news right there.
Yeah.
Now, I am wondering, have either of you read the Winchester graphic novels?
No. Is that a thing?
Okay. Yeah, there's a little 6-part series that's really well done, and the monster in that is more like her own personal mental anguish.
Oh, that's cool.
And, it reminds me much more of that, the Del Toro movie, the recent one.
Oh,
The House That Bleeds Red.
Oh, Crimson Peak.
Yeah, it reminded me more of Crimson Peak.
Yeah, another Gothic, great Gothic movie, I was obsessed with Gothic romance novels. I don't think romance is really, it's a bit of a misnomer. They're basically...
oh, you mean romance in the sense of, like, romantic writers.
Right.
The romantic period.
Right. So it's basically these sort of... all these horror books that are basically have some innocent girl who's sent to some sort of large building, either in an old house or an insane asylum or a church or something, and then crazy stuff goes on.
Post office, a deli, department store.
A deli. So, I was very disappointed, and I've been to Winchester Mystery House. Have either of you guys ever been there?
I've been there.
Yeah, and it's cool when you're in there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's neat, and, hearing about Sarah Winchester, I would have been perfectly happy just watching a documentary about her inventions, because she's got a lot under her belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as a guy who sort of makes his living, so at night I entertain myself by doing radio, and during the day I make my living by advertising other people's stuff. As being that guy, I feel that I had more imagination walking through Winchester Mystery House than the movie makers did.
Yeah.
You know, and really it really just brings me back to how do these actors get stuck in these roles? You know, how does that happen? You know, do they sign on in the beginning and then they're just stuck and no matter how terrible it goes, you're there?
Multi-part movie deals?
I do not know.
Yeah, that's a good point. So when they're signing, do they sign for like a big movie and a crappy movie?
Maybe.
Or like a risky movie, maybe is a better way to put it. Because, like...
Was this a risky movie, though? Because every decision they made was as safe as it possibly could have been. That's ultimately why it was bad, really, is because they didn't take any chances with the material.
Well, the big thing in the horror movie scene that they're talking about right now is like the equivalent of the Trump factor. It's the It factor. The movie It was so popular that they're expecting horror movies over the next year to actually get a lot of revenue.
I was not far off. I looked at the budget, Chauncey. Production budget of $3.5 million. So that's why they made this movie.
So, if you're looking at the budget, did it say what its opening weekend return was?
Opening weekend, not sure, but total worldwide take was $41 million. So.
Holy smokes, I should have invested in that piece of crap. That's terrible.
No, this profited in the same way Adam Sandler movies profit.
At the expense of all of us?
This is the true horror that we're covering in this show, is the mediocrity of human existence.
I guess I have to address that as well, as a horror movie fan. So I feel that every genre... a great movie fulfills all the criteria of every genre, but each genre kind of has its thing that it needs. Drama needs good acting, and a mystery or science fiction needs great writing, and a horror movie needs great imagery. And, there's those movies that transcend all of them, like The Shining has all of those things.
Right.
Yeah. But this movie, Tyler, you said something that really struck a nerve with me that I was thinking and I wasn't really able to put into words, and that was...
Jared's showing me a thingy looks like the opening weekend was $9.3 million.
Jeez, man, what a return. That is just terrible. But we've landed in this world where ghost stories are just showing the ghost standing there. It's like effects have come
did nothing.
Yeah, effects have come like such a long way, and they just show the ghost standing there. And it's like, I'm all for practical effects, but let's get something ethereal going on. Let's get something psychedelic.
Too practical for you, Chelsea?
Yeah, totally.
Making a man gray and giving him glowing contact lenses.
Yeah, in Carnival of Souls or Night of the Living Dead, I'm cool with that. But
in a ghost movie, I do want more though.
I do too. I want.
He could have turned into smoke.
Right.
There's a lot of windows. Did we even get a window breaking in this film?
No.
I mean, that would be another trope. So pick your poison.
It would be.
Basically,
no, I did find a fun fact though. I want to tell you guys the worst thing about Winchester. So. According to Wikipedia, Lionsgate bought the film and photography rights to the Winchester Mansion for the film, so now tourists are not allowed to take any pictures of the interior of the mansion because a tourist photo would be in direct competition with a Hollywood movie.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so this is a travesty against mankind. This movie is an atrocity.
All right, well, we're coming up on a break here, so I'll throw this in. If you're interested in seeing Winchester... save yourself the time and go watch the remake of 13 Ghosts or something.
Right.
It's a better movie. It's still silly and full of all the tropes, but it's just a better movie.
Right.
And young Matthew Lillard. I mean, who can say no to that?
Who can say no to young Matthew Lillard? Ain't that right? All right, you're listening to Radio Wasteland. When we come back, we're going to talk about Verónica. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. There's a great song from Maximum Overdrive. We were talking horror films. These have all been songs from horror films. That was from Maximum Overdrive. Earlier, we had one from Fright Night, of course.
That's obviously. Yeah.
Pet Sematary from the Ramones, from Pet Sematary.
From
all
the popular
movies you should watch this Halloween.
Right, all quality films, except for maybe the one we're going to be bumpering on the way out with, which is going to be Phantom of the Mall, so that's a little questionable, but...
Phantom of the Deli.
Right. All right, so our next movie we're going to talk about that's supposedly based on true events was a little more transparent with its lack of accuracy.
This one was a little closer, although I did look it up later, and there were some very major liberties. I don't really want to spoil the ending.
Right, it's actually worth watching, but the movie we're talking about here is Verónica, and it's a Spanish movie, and for those of you out there who are confused on what that means, it means it's from Spain. Not that it's from Mexico. The movie is from Spain.
Yes.
Although there are great horror films
in Madrid.
From Mexico as well. But I really liked it. What do you think, Tyler?
I liked it. My biggest question exiting that film is, can I look at a lunar eclipse through a film negative? Would love an answer to this.
Yeah, and if you can't, I feel that that's pretty irresponsible to put in the movie.
I'm pretty sure you can.
You can? I don't know, man.
I don't know.
My buddy Chris was a welder, and we went and watched the eclipse here in Reading, and we had to not only wear his welding mask, but have something else in front of it because his welding mask alone wasn't strong enough.
Oh, wow.
You know, so, I mean, it's got to be strong. I mean, that thing's going to burn a hole in your puppies.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, the first thing that I thought about with it is my horror movie snootiness. I am a snooty, hardcore horror movie fan. I have been literally for decades. I've seen just about everything. And so a lot of the times when a movie comes out, you know, this movie had such stuff around it, people saying like, oh, it's so terrifying and people can't even finish watching it and people are passing out and blah, blah, blah. You know, and so when I saw it, I was thinking...
It's a little overhyped.
Well, of course it was overhyped, you know. I mean, you know, Jared was reading me all the reviews about how absolutely terrifying it was, which is why I watched it. Am I misquoting this?
No, I literally heard that people had to stop watching it halfway through.
Yeah.
And I believed it. And then you watched it and you're like, whatever.
It's not that bad.
No, it's really not.
Did they screen it for a bunch of kindergartners and that's who gave these?
I mean, people stopped watching Reservoir Dogs halfway through.
My view of anybody who has to stop watching a movie halfway through is they either have some serious religious beliefs or they need some counseling. You know, something to cope with some past trauma that they're just not... I mean, I have never seen a movie that I'm just all like, oh my God, I just can't handle this.
I think
maybe
some
a
people
lot of
are probably more high-strung, but...
Maybe what, Tyler?
I said maybe a lot of haunted people had to leave the movie theater.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like, this is really close to home. Ghost buddy sitting in the seat next to me. Let's get out of here.
Right. Well, here's where my snootiness came into play. And, like, I'm watching it and I say, okay, well, one reason why people think that this is so scary and so cool is because it's something very new to them. But as a fan of horror films, if you followed any sort of horror films out of Spain or Italy from the late 70s on, this movie had very much a look and a feel that is very similar to movies from that part of the world. You know, it was not shocking. It had this kind of like retro modern thing where it was obviously trying to throw some throwback Dario Argento fanness or Gallo film fanness, you know, thing. It also had this weird thing that these European movies have, and I'm not sure how to say it in a PC fashion, but they get a little too comfortable with young girls coming of age. I don't know. They show them in a light that's like really wouldn't fly here in American movies. Do you guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but I think also...
What about like Carrie or hell, even It?
Yeah, I think it's also culturally, it's, you know, a bigger deal.
Yeah, no,
that could be it.
I agree. It's just weird to see where they sort of are like, you know, sexualizing a 15-year-old girl, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that in American films. You'll get the implication of it, but, you know, and don't get me wrong, there was nothing like specifically racy about this, but there was just something about their delivery of this girl that is sort of common of European films. I don't know. But the one thing that I did really like it's been a long time since I saw an exorcism or possession movie that didn't remind me of The Exorcist throughout the entire thing. And I felt that this one was different.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought they did do a good job when, she is possessed and they're showing, spoiler alert, her, screaming with her face all contorted, mouth back.
Yeah.
Shows a good camera angle. I don't know if they did any digital effects to make her mouth look bigger, but it certainly has that spooky feel to it.
Yeah, like that freaky thing in The Ring when they'd show, like, the corpse and it's all like, Yeah. And I don't know. I think we're allowed to spoiler affect this one because, it came out in 2017. What is the cutoff date at this point when you can spoiler things?
I don't know what the spoiler statute of limitations
I believe we had an
but...
argument about this outside.
All right, what did we come up with, Jared?
I don't know. I think Terra, sorry.
Okay, we have to do the whole show again now, Jared. Great.
I think you came
Start
up with
it over. Let's talk about Winchester.
Oh, no.
See what you've done. You've made us talk about Winchester.
I was going to say, I think you had the most definitive
answer.
Yeah,
but it couldn't have been that definitive because I don't remember what it was.
All right, Tyler, what do you think? How long does a movie have to be out
I don't know.
before we're allowed to just sort of huck spoilers around?
I'd say a month.
1 month? Oh, that's way shorter. I was thinking like 6 months, and I think Kara said a year.
Yeah. Yeah, a year is about what I think.
I don't know. I thought you working in an office environment, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like...
Oh, yeah, that is what I said.
I thought you said once it came out on DVD or...
Once it's on DVD, because at that point, anyone in the world can pirate it. So it's like...
So now we based it off of pirating.
I mean, don't we?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, Not that I would ever do that. But
no, I mean, me neither. Right. But it's like, you don't have time to go see it in the theaters. Maybe it didn't come to your town, okay. But once it's on the internet, you have no excuse to not have seen it.
Right. And for those of you listening, Verónica is actually on Netflix.
And
I did watch it on Netflix.
For about $20, you can call up Helen Mirren, and she'll actually watch Winchester with you. So that's what I do.
Oh, that poor woman.
God.
That poor woman, man. You're going to feel...
She's accessible. She's made herself far too accessible.
Yeah, totally. She might as well start acting on TV. Yeah. All right, so the reality of Verónica. The reality of Verónica is about the reality of any biopic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
At best, it's about 50%. So think about biopics you've seen. You've seen Ray, you see the Buddy Holly story, you see these movies. You're looking at about 50%.
Right.
I would say Verónica is as good on a based on true story level as any biopic.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's mostly,
absolutely.
The things that happened weren't as dramatic when they happened in real life, and they didn't happen in the same order.
Right, yeah.
But it's, other than that, it's still mostly, the same stuff.
And she was a single child in real life, right?
Yeah, I think she was, yeah. But,
and that's a huge departure, because that's a really big part of, the horror of the movie, is that she has to be the mom for all these little kids, and she's really not prepared to do that.
Right.
See, I thought it was going to lean harder into that aspect.
Yeah, well...
her mother's working and out all the time, and, all of these terrible things are happening, basically, because her mother's not there.
Right. Yeah,
she even says the monster doesn't come when her mom's home, so that's give her away.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah.
From what I've read about the actual case, she actually showed signs of mental illness long before this. Mm-hmm. So she, had some problems. And so we're coming up on the break here, but when we come back, let's talk a little bit about that and sort of when it comes to the reality of possession, what's going on with possession and, and all this stuff. Is it real? I don't know. All right, you're listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. That was the Dickies from the movie The Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Absolutely terrible, great movie.
A classic.
A classically terrible film. Yeah. All right, so Verónica is about possession, and we're talking about the reality of the situation, and so we can't really do that without addressing the potential reality of possession. I personally have a hard time with it. You know, I've known a lot of people who like are really freaked out by The Exorcist, let's say, but to them it's reality, and to me it's fantasy. I don't have those beliefs.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I don't know. What do you think about possession, Tyler? What do you think about the possibility?
All right. Well, I will tell you this. When I was about 24, I was staying up late and was out on my parents' back porch having a cigarette, and I saw a glowing orb move through my backyard. Now, it cast its own light source, and I specifically did not go down and touch it because I didn't want to risk possession. So,
or electrocution from lightning.
Either of those things.
Right. So I feel...
Can it happen? I don't know, but I'm not willing to court it, I guess.
Right.
Right. Well, your belief in something is so unbelievable as possession is obviously and appreciatively offset by your belief in something as so scientific as electricity. So that's good.
That is good.
I think the possession is possible. You know, I really liked Insidious because Insidious sort of had this concept of possession that was sort of outside of religion. It was more astral projection and stuff like that. And I thought that was really kind of cool to have this, you know. In looking into the realities of this, I read a little bit about schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And so schizophrenics here in America and in Christian countries often are hearing the voices of and having visual hallucinations of religious stuff.
Sure.
The interesting thing is, in other countries, they don't. So in Japan, schizophrenia doesn't like have Shinto or ghosts or demons from their culture. Really what they focus on is shame and failings. And in India, they sort of focus on paranoia about your neighbors and what they're up to. So it is interesting to note that here in Christian countries, that a large part of our healthcare system, especially for the mentally ill and stuff like that, historically has been done by the church. And this might be where that connection lies, you know.
Yeah. I mean, that
is deep
very true.
For the last quarter of the radio show, Chauncey. That's a starter topic. Right?
Yeah, well, we got to end on a gem, man. We got to remind people what this show's really about, you know. So, you know, it's hard for me to even believe in the idea of exorcism. I looked up a bunch of them on YouTube, and I don't know. I love YouTube, but you can't believe a single thing you see on there.
No. Yeah, I'm pretty iffy on it myself. I think it might be, there might be some tiny shade of reality to it, but no one's like dying or being chased around their apartment by, you know,
I mean,
demons without some pre-existing, you know, problem that's the real problem.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the thing with possession, it's just as provable as anything else we haven't proved scientifically yet. So.
Right,
but at the same time, so many people believe in hauntings. So many people believe in ghosts. And so
I'd kind of put possession in the same bucket as that, personally.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it is easily...
maybe 50-50 on the idea of both of those things.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and guess that it's even more believed in than UFOs, you know, ghosts and hauntings. You know, that there are more people with more experiences and stuff like that, at least in my experience in life. And that's before doing this radio show. You know, everybody seems to kind of have a story. I mean, Tyler just had a story.
Yeah. I have stories.
I don't. You know, I've never actually seen anything other than...
Well, you need to summon more demons.
Boring, stark reality, you know? It's terrible.
Maybe reality
both Kara and I are going in on a Ouija board for you, Chauncey, so it's not too late.
That was one thing that I liked about the movie. So one reason why the movie probably found success was there's been this huge uptick in movies about Ouija boards in horror films and a huge uptick in movies about crazy nuns. And so this movie had both of those. You know?
Your two classic elements of horror movies. Ouija boards and crazy nuns.
Well, you know, Catholicism is you know, Christianity on the whole, and for anybody who's Christian out there, just, you know, look at the history. I'm not coming down on Christianity. On the whole, it's the product, you know, literally 50% of our horror films are somehow based in Christianity. I have a decent knowledge of the Bible because of my obsession with horror films. I really do.
Huh.
You know, Jeopardy comes up, I do all right.
Kind of funny.
Terry, my wife is Christian, and she looks at me and she's all, how do you even know that? I'm all, oh, you know, that was...
Yeah, in the end times, you're going to be Van Helsing it up, you know. I mean, you're not going to be raptured, let's be clear here, but you're going to be, you know, you're going to be around hunting the monsters for the people who are left. So that's good. You're prepared.
That's true. That's true. So ultimately, we give Winchester a fat thumbs down.
Right.
And we give Verónica a...
I don't know, thumb at a 45-degree angle upward,
Yeah,
maybe.
I was going to say a loose Fonzie, like,
Yeah.
Definitely. It's like when Fonzie's phoning it in for the ugly chick. Oh, God. What? Is that not acceptable?
I don't even know anymore.
I don't either. I don't know. I can't. I don't know.
Good thing
I'm
we're pundits.
If I can't make fun of how people look, what can I make fun of?
Yeah.
Winchester.
There
Always
we go.
and forever.
We've come full circle.
Yeah, Winchester's like the only one.
And how old Helen Mirren is.
Oh.
I thought this is how we began the show. I didn't start it.
It's true. I got to say, though, for how old Helen Mirren is, she looks really, really, really good.
I don't know how old she is, actually.
She is well into her 60s, probably his 70s.
I thought you
that's
said
not that bad.
old as dirt.
Yeah.
There's some young
Tyler
girls
said
out
old
there,
as creation.
you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chauncey lives on a fairly new homestead, so the dirt is actually quite close. And for him, it's accurate.
Yeah. I do.
Grinds down rocks every day to make some new dirt.
My apartment complex was built like 20 years ago. So, you know. But, you know, so I was disappointed across the board.
You're not mad, you're
in
just
the reality. I guess before the show ends, do any of us know a horror film that we really feel was accurately based on some sort of reality?
A true story?
I don't know. I love Ravenous, and I always will.
Yeah, Ravenous was awesome, without a doubt. The setting was very much a true story. I don't know if the story was true, but the setting was an awesome, cool setting for a horror film, sort of the colonial, post-Civil War, Old West. Is that...
Yeah, and there were enough stories that are similar to that definitely happened.
Yeah. Supposedly the Entity is very much based on... so they actually had this woman who was repeatedly being sexually assaulted by a ghost. And it happened to her while she was in being watched and hooked up to all the electrodes and stuff. And that movie is about that.
Well, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
You should watch it.
I'm sure you will. Because, as I've told you...
But not in a creepy way. It just sounds like a good movie.
I've told you 1,000 times, Carrie, you remind me of my daughter. And basically, if I bring up something totally messed up, I know that she's going to run upstairs and go watch it just because she wants to know how messed up it actually is.
Man, Schoolhouse Rock is like the most messed up thing I've ever seen. I don't know about you guys.
Wait, what?
I figured if she was listening, Chauncey, I want to hedge your bet.
Oh, thanks. She's 23 though, so yeah.
You're never too old for Schoolhouse Rock. Come on.
Yeah, totally.
Carl Sagan videos, horrifying.
Totally.
Horrifying.
Have you seen the remake of what was it? Oh man, I totally forgot it now. Cosmos, yeah. Have you seen the remake of Cosmos? Oh my gosh, you know. The end is amazing. Yeah. You got to watch it all the way through to the end.
Right.
All right, so you've been listening to Radio Wasteland. We've been talking about which movies are good and which movies are bad and if they're based on real situations. And we've come up with bad, decent, no, and no. Thanks for checking us out for our little Halloween fun. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Tyler. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. Carrie, you got some news for us.
I do. So I'm scouring the internet as I usually do for articles. And I type in ghosts, and what should I find but a New York Times article in the opinion section entitled, "I Believe in Ghosts."
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
New York Times, I believe in ghosts.
Right. So most of the article is basically just about, the housing situation in the U.S. It's veiled commentary on that. But what's interesting is the article is basically talking about how the author and her siblings are coming together to get this house for her mom and her family because they've basically been priced out of the market in the Boston area where they lived for decades.
I see.
And so they've been, it's a story of them house hunting, and with every house they're like, okay, is this house haunted? We're kind of worried about this. But what's interesting about this article is that, there's all this stuff talking about the culture and, how it's difficult to deal with housing prices and all of that. But the end of the article is basically just about how, in fact, that the house they moved into was haunted. And the author saw the ghost. But don't worry, the ghost was very friendly and helps her with her laundry and stuff.
All right. So first off, I got to say on a news level, I'm a little disappointed that they are basically baiting people into a article about the housing crisis by saying I believe in ghosts. Is this some sort of editorial then, I assume?
Well, it's in the opinion section.
I've reached a point in my life where I just hate the news. I hate everything about it.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, it's definitely a very clickbaity title. But the thing that was interesting to me is that she literally does say in the article, yes, there are ghosts and I've seen them. Like, it's a very odd article. Yeah. Because it starts out, talking about these weighty issues in a subtle way, and it basically just ends up being about the reality of specters.
Huh. Well, it's interesting to see it entering the mainstream in that regard,
Yeah, and I wonder if it's just because it's around Halloween, or I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. What is the Halloween sales pitch to these things? Because I don't imagine most people loving Halloween, but I guess maybe they do. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I imagine that just young people and me liked it. Frankly,
I mean, as you pointed out before, Halloween is enormous business.
It is.
A distant second, but still second to Christmas in terms of, the money that's generated. So, not to bury the lead or anything, the ghost in question was described as a woman with, like, a black veil. Very stereotypical ghost right there.
Right.
But I think they do have limited wardrobe options in the afterlife.
Totally, yeah.
Rarely see your spectral baseball caps.
They all look
t-shirts.
Like Winona Ryder. I don't know, the baseball caps, A Field of Dreams. Those were ghosts.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And
so how did it help with laundry?
Well, she said she...
just like moral support?
Well, first off, she said she felt an aura of benevolence and helpfulness coming from it, but also apparently, like, when you leave clothes and stuff unattended, sometimes they get neatly sorted.
Holy smokes!
Right?
My wife would love that ghost. Because nothing pisses her off like more than when she gives us our laundry. And don't get me wrong, I understand the world is a lot of different ways, but around my house, my wife does the laundry. She doesn't want anybody else touching it. So,
right.
I'm not oppressing my wife.
I think the ghosts in my house are malevolent, not benevolent.
Do they mess up your laundry?
They steal it.
They steal your laundry?
It sucks.
Just the left ones?
Yes.
Oh.
So I really don't know what to make of this article at all, but I thought I'd share it because it was just so weird that it was even written.
Well, how about this? Sometimes truth is more terrifying than fiction. Weren't you talking to me about an evil dictator?
Oh, okay. So that's another thing that happened. This last week has kind of been a doozy, and the last couple of weeks have kind of just been really depressing. You've got synagogue shooting, you've got... your trans memo, you've got a bunch of things, and now Brazil decides to elect he makes Donald Trump look very moderate and reasonable.
Really?
Yeah, so he's talked about, wanting to torture and imprison his political opponents. He's said things like, if my son were gay, I probably wouldn't ever speak to him again.
At best, apparently.
Right, he said denigrating things about women. He's just all around a pretty awful guy.
And they elected him.
I don't need to go into all of the details of all the horrible things he said, because elections there, like here, last a long time, and there have been a lot of them.
Right.
But yeah, he did win, and now people who are not extremely right-wing in Brazil are scared for their lives, as are minorities. So there's that.
Yeah, that's weird with what, South America. It's like, it must be connected to the economy. These sort of driving.
Right.
Just.
Yeah, well, so Brazil.
I don't even want to use the word conservative because I don't think it really applies to a lot of, my aunt and uncle, they're conservative. They don't want to oppress anybody. They don't want to throw anybody in jail. They just have,
right.
It's like we need another word for this. It's like, what is going on with this?
Well,
it's
there
crazy.
is a word for it. And what this guy is, which is not conservative, is fascist. He is.
But he was elected. He can't be too much of a fascist.
I mean.
Yeah. Sure about that? Can you be an elected fascist?
Like Hitler.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Some might say the most famous prototypical fascist.
Yeah, I know. But you get my point. They're sitting here.
Well, people are a little worried that maybe there won't be elections because, in Brazil, that's not as... There was a military dictatorship in Brazil for many decades.
Right.
Democracy is a couple of decades old there.
Yeah, all of South America kind of has some squirrely stuff going on down there.
Well, I mean, in Brazil's case, and in the case of many South American countries, the military dictatorship happened because we were worried they would go communist and supported a bunch of very bad people taking over the country.
Right, but even now, Venezuela don't they have a shady leadership structure?
Yeah, well, Venezuela has troubles, and politically speaking, like they're the exact opposite, pretty much. They're a planned economy. They're basically as socialistic as they come.
Oh, are they? I don't really know anything about them.
Yeah. So Venezuela is just. They kind of mismanaged their oil assets, which allowed them to have a very good standard of living for many decades. They nationalized their oil and so have been reaping the benefits of that, dropping oil prices, combined with the fact that even though the Cold War's over, we and a bunch of other people are still, refusing to trade with them because they're communist.
Right.
Has basically made it so you can't get basic goods and services, and that's been going on for many years, and so there's basically been a breakdown of law and order, and really it's just kind of crony totalitarianism at this point, and it's sad because that was not the case at all, say, 5-10 years ago in Brazil. And also, I should note, I'm not an expert. 75% of what I just said was probably wrong. So please do not get all of your news from Radio Wasteland because my phone's not loading and I couldn't look it up.
Yeah, no, it's just really sort of weird to me. We think of the world as getting better along this linear path, and socially it really seemed like it was for so long. But now it really sort of feels like it's taking this dystopian, hard right or left, however you want to look at it, but
this is a trend. Turkey, democracy for a very long time. Now it's basically, I forget the name of the man in charge.
Erdogan,
yeah. It really is a democracy in name only at this point. He's basically made himself dictator. Poland has been passing Poland has been slouching towards fascism as well, essentially. And that, in their case, that's a large part of, they're a poor country and they've been hit hard by this refugee crisis, and they've always been fairly conservative anyway, and there's just been this enormous backlash.
Right.
And then, of course, there's Trump.
Right. All right, so Radio Wasteland apparently can just be about the current world that we live in, because that is your dystopian apocalypse.
So that's much scarier than the ghost that helps you with your laundry, to be honest.
Or hurts your laundry.
Right. Or steals your socks.
We're very sad about your sock ghost, Jared. Our condolences.
All right.
Brazil is fascist now. Sorry.
You're listening to Radio Wasteland. Try not to have nightmares.
Oh, yeah. Swing that thing. Yeah.
Do you believe in a hypno-hypnotist? Do you believe in a hypno-hypnotist? Do you believe in the hypno-hypnotist? Get up and dance. You see before you a woman who has been hypnotized since she was a young girl. This woman has been hypnotized since she was a young girl. And when I snap my fingers, she will awaken. Yes, she will awaken, and she will dance.
I got a voodoo doll that looks like you. I'm gonna kiss it. I'm gonna hug it too. And when I call and you're all alone, I'm gonna make you pick up the telephone. And when I say, maybe I like you, I'm gonna make you say, I think I'd like you too.
Everybody, get your cell phones out